grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with Brisbane's fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red Army, let's hear you sing with all your might for your world champions in the red and white. We are okay, and we are the champions of the world.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Robin Pod, which is of course powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. And after no Robin Pod last week, we have got plenty to get through, and helping me do that is Robin Pod regular Bazza Kingston. How are you doing, Bazza?
Morning, Jono. Very well, thank you, mate. How are yourself?
I'm great, and what I want to do is just kick off by saying a huge thank you to Mark Newman, who's a regular viewer of the Robin Pod. He's the man behind our latest, newest theme tune. The introduction to the Robin Pod, of course, needed the Well Club Challenge reflecting in it, didn't it? And Mark's done a great job putting that together, so I'm hugely grateful for him. You can catch it on YouTube as well if you want to just listen to it. It's, I think, Sharky 92. You can go on YouTube. I'll put it in the comments if anyone wants to seek it out. But great start to the Robin Pod. Really looking forward to getting into this one because, of course, Bazza, there's lots and lots to talk about. Let's kick off, though, with the victory over that lot on Good Friday. Pretty much run-of-the-mill victory. Willie Peters said, apart from a few spells, it was pretty much we was in total control. And there was good value for the win, wasn't there?
Yeah, there really was, and I felt we were quite comfortable in that. And without coming across as arrogant, I felt like we didn't go through all the gears. You know, I felt like we was cruising. I've seen a lot complaining with regards to the Lewis Martin try, no try, but I still, regardless of whatever happened with that, I believe that we was in control. All FC, I think they had 5-10 minute purple patch, but I think we held them out quite well, and it was overall a relatively comfortable victory. And I just remember walking out the stadium that day thinking, you know, it's another one, you know. And when I've left the stadium before after a derby victory, I've been like on top of the world. But for me, I just felt like, you know, it's normal procession.
Yeah, and I think if you, I think we mentioned it previously on the Robin Pod where, of course, the derby is always a big game. You get all the hype and the media build-up, don't you? But I did sense a little bit of a different, I don't know, attitude to the game from a lot of Robi supporters. You know, I think the fact that we have been so dominant recently, you know, the run of victories we've put against that lot, just meant that the game doesn't necessarily have that edge as much. But what is really apparent, Bazza, is how much the players look at that game, not necessarily because of a rivalry with Hull FC for them, but how much they want to do it for us, how much they want to get that victory for the supporters. And I think that's their energy, not just the 2 points, but the energy comes from wanting to reward the supporters with that victory. Yeah,
100%, John. And you could sense that amongst the players, every time we scored, the way they celebrated. And I've noticed over the last few games and that when we have scored, the boys get in a huddle because they know how important things are to us, and especially us as fans. And the boys don't want to be losing them sort of derbies. And do you know what I found very fitting and very lovely was, you know, it was Willie Peters' last derby at Craven Park. So, you know, I was absolutely over the moon for Willie Peters. But again, mate, it was just another 2 points. It was a great day. It was a great atmosphere. I thought the boys was nice and steady, and you know, every single player who took to the field, you know, really buys into what the derby means. And I think what one guy who did really well, who doesn't get the raps he deserves, was Jack Brown. He didn't put a foot wrong in that game, you know. But the lad puts his body on the line for us all the time, and yeah, it was it was a good day. It was a good derby. It was job done. On to the next one. And I think that was the attitude, kind of what you got from the boys. You know, we've done the job now. We've got the derby out of the way, and we'll crack on. And that Clive Sullivan Trophy is back in our cabinet. It's been there for some time now, hasn't it, John?
Well, I'll tell you what, mate. It's been there that long. It's probably getting dust on it, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think the only chance that lot of getting it is if they do a ram raid or something like that, because I can't see him doing it on the pitch. Good point about Jack Brown, though. It was only Bazza not that long ago. We were talking about whether he had a future at the club, and what he's done is he's come onto the scene and he's really took his opportunity. I love his offload game, and do you know what? He's not a starting prop for me. I don't think he's the one who starts. But on the back of Tom Amon, Jesse Sue, them two laying the platform and then coming in with his energy for a 20-minute, 30-minute spell, I think that's where he's really good at. And that's what he's been doing for the side. Like I said, I love his offload game. I love his energy. And, you know, he is a great squad player for us. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. But when he's got the opportunity and we need him, he does come in and do a good job. I can see why other teams maybe, rumoured to be signing him potentially for 2027. But for me, I'd love to keep him part of the side at the moment.
Yeah, so would I, especially with the likes of, and again, this is not me wanting to back on any one of our boys, but when you feel like Jai Whitbread's kind of slightly dipped in form, you know.
Do you think? I think he's been great.
There's been a lot of uncharacteristic errors from Jai, in my opinion, anyway. And I think it just excels Jack Brown's performance, where, you know, Jack Brown, there's no drop ball. He runs really tough, and he tackles so well. 1 minute, sorry about that, John. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading things into it. I've just seen a couple of uncharacteristic drop balls from Jai Whitbread lately. But as for, you know, and that's not me bagging on him. You know, he's got a great try.
It shows you how high the standards are, isn't it? Where you do pick up on things, because what we've become accustomed to and what the players have displayed so consistently, you know, like you said, the standards are really high. So you do sometimes pick up on things which normally you just let go. It'd be just part and parcel of the game, wouldn't it? But you are right to pick up on things, because ultimately, you know, these errors in big games can cost us. Thankfully, we've seen they haven't. But, you know, someone like Jai Whitbread as well, he is someone who's adapting to a bit of a new role in the side as well.
Yeah, he is. And he's adapting to it quite well, because I don't know if you've noticed, but Jai's had to drop into the back row a few times. And, you know, he's still done a grand job. And again, this isn't me wanting to bag on Jai, because I think he's a great player. I love him to bits. But I think with regards to Jai Whitbread, where it's getting highlighted for me is we're seeing Jack Brown come onto the field and make such an impact. And at times, you know, when we've seen Jai come on, his first one or two carries, maybe he's just getting a bit warm, getting into the groove of the game. We're just seeing a few uncharacteristic errors, but Jai is that sort of player who can play in the back row and even at loose if need be, you know, so he is massively valuable to the squad.
Yeah, and the latest addition to the Robins is, of course, Ryan Hampshire. We saw him come to the club on a bit of a trial basis. He was training with the side. He featured in the reserves a few times. And then the club have offered him a deal to the end of the season, primarily to support that spine in terms of adding a little bit of depth. I think Willie Peters said he was he just wanted to make sure that we've got that backup, particularly, you know, with Artem Org being out injured at the moment. Should something happen to Jack Broadbent, you know, there's a risk there, isn't there? And of course, Bazza, which is maybe not unique to the Robins, but the way that they train and how they go 13 against 13 and almost mirror what the opposition can bring. He wanted to bring that player in to do that job. And Ryan Hampshire, you know, he's not a bad player to bring in to do that job, is he? And who knows? He's always in contention for the first team. I suppose every single player is in contention, but it's great to have that base. And this is what I love about the club, Bazza, just going about the business, you know, making sure that there's a safety net there, not making any fuss, bringing right players in who fit into our culture, our system, the way we play, the way we train. And for me, it just ticks another box in terms of adding a little bit of security to the squad.
Don't know, you hit the nail on the head there, because it just shows how well our squad, our club is, how well the club is really, really well run at the moment, compared to, should we say, other clubs at the moment. And I think it's a massively
I don't know what you mean,
valuable.
Bazza. I'm scratching my head thinking, oh, you could mean.
Oh mate, I know, but you can see Ryan Hampshire's value within that squad, because not only does he help our drills in training, but he's also there for the young lads as well in the reserve grade, and he's got a good head on his shoulders, and it's that backup if something was to go wrong now, you know. For example, we lost Gilly or Petter, and you know, it'd just be a case of dropping Jack Broadbent potentially into the centres, and then Ryan Hampshire comes in at fullback till we get Artur Morg back, because I feel like a lot of people's forgot about Artur Morg. You know, we've still got him to come back in a few weeks, but it's smart work by the club, because we can make a seamless change to our lineup without it affecting too many things. Whether he does get the opportunity to pull the jersey on or not, time will tell. My opinion, I hope he doesn't, because then that means we're not picking up injuries or suspensions. But if he does, we've got a natural fullback there to come in and cover without having to disrupt our span too much, because I know Mikey can do a good job at fullback, but we want Mikey in the halves to see the best version of Mikey. So overall, I think it's great business by the club. What's not going to cost the club a hell of a lot of money, and we saw it last year with Rowan Milnes, and you know, we reaped the benefits of that towards the latter stages of the last season, just to have Rowan Milnes in and around training to keep the boys nice and sharp with the drills. Yeah,
no, it's a great point, isn't it? And you mentioned about Artur Morg, about you know, we've still got him to come back. How exciting that is, you know, particularly now we're getting into the sunshine season, aren't we? We're starting to see the firm pitches, which Artur Morg absolutely excels on. One player though, who is starting to add a real bit of consistency to his game and look comfortable in that full-back position is Jack Broadbent, isn't it? We saw him with that fantastic line he ran against that lot to score in the derby. We saw him come up with another try against York, which we'll be talking about very shortly. But you know, he did come up with a few errors previously, didn't he, when he first came into the side? But he looks very assured now, and this is the thing, isn't it? And we mentioned it lots of times on the Robin Pod about how even if Jack Broadbent is playing at his ultimate best, Artur Morg still comes into that side. And that's where the real difficulty is, isn't it? Because, like we said, he's one of my favourite players, Jack Broadbent. I love how he plays. But judging on what's gone in the past, even if he is at 100%, you still can't see him retaining that place in the side. Should Artur Morg come back?
It's an horrible position to be in, and it's got to be incredibly tough for Willie Peters, because when Jack takes to the field, you know, he had a little error in him when he first slips in there, but you know, it's kind of understandable. But it's got to be horrible for Willie Peters, because he's been in top form. You know, he's been absolutely fantastic and solid for Rovers at fullback. But like you just said, how do you not put Artur Morg in there? And I guess that's where Jack understands his role within the squad, and that Willie Peters has built that, and Jack Broadbent knows where he stands. But again, who's to say Artur don't come back into the squad, go back to fullback, and you know, struggling to find form for a couple of games, then it's a simple solution by putting Jack Broadbent there. But it's not a decision or a conversation I'd like to have with either one of them if I was the coach, because it would be incredibly difficult, because you know, Jack is a fan's favourite, but then again, so is Artur Morg. I think like you've just said, over the two fullbacks, Artur is obviously the better fullback, but Jack's utility value to our squad is absolutely, you can't put a price on that. So he'll be back in the squad in another position at some point, because there's always the option of there dropping him on the wing or in centre, and you're going to get 100% from Jack Broadbent, but it's a conversation I would like to have with him if you had to bench him for Arto when he comes back. But again, it's all about form. Arta's coming back off a massive injury, so it'll be a conversation for Willie to have. But again, we've got about 4 or 5 weeks to wait for that anyway. So
yeah, and I do think as well. I think Willie Peters likes Arta Morg's ability to drop into the halves if needed as well, which he probably does better than what Jack Broadbent would do. So look, there's a theme around this side, isn't there, around versatility and having certain players who can drop into certain positions. I mean, when you talked about Willie Peters having a headache, I guess there's another player who's causing him one. And if we go back to Good Friday, one player who caught the headlines, who was a Hull Kingston Rovers player, but it wasn't actually for the Robins, was Bill Leyland, wasn't it? He's the St Helens hero. I don't think he'll have to ever buy a pint again in St Helens after what he did at the back end of that derby against Wigan, of course. Scored 2 tries and led the side to victory in the end. There's no doubt lots of supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers are suggesting that they'd like to see Bill Leyland feature more. But like we've alluded to previously, there's certain players who are in that squad for a very specific reason. And at the moment, Carl Lawton's versatility is the reason why Bill Leyland isn't featuring on the side. And there's no doubt that Bill Leyland will be chomping at the bit to get an opportunity. But at the same time, Willie Peters is looking at the squad as a whole, not just the player in Bill Leyland. But it's another headache he's got to deal with probably.
It really is, but I was absolutely over the moon for Bill Leyland. I watched that game I managed to watch the second half, and I remember actually saying to my partner, I said it'd be mega if Bill Leyland came on and scored the winner, and then the game looked dead and buried. And with what Bill did, it was something special, especially in such a big game like the Saints Wigan derby. But people calling for Bill Leyland to be straight back into the squad, I get it, I understand. But Bill will know his place again within that squad. And it's a progression thing with Bill. Jez didn't become an amazing player overnight. Jez has built this over the years. Jez was playing second fiddle to Matt Parcell for a number of years, not doing like any sort of big minutes. And look at the type of player Jez Litton is right now. So it's just a learning curve for Bill. He's still learning his trade. And Willie Peters will see the potential that is in Bill Leyland, but there's no point in throwing him in at the deep end straight away because of 25 minutes of brilliance in the Saints derby. He'll have to progress very much like Jez Litton did, and his time will come. And I'm 100% certain Bill will take his opportunity, but it's just about being patient right now. And I think the fans need to be patient with him, and we will get the best version of Bill Leyland.
Yeah, and I think as well, what it looks like to me is that Jez is building up to being that 80-minute hooker now, with Lawton playing that supporting role. I thought Lawton, when he covered Litton in the derby, I don't think he was brilliant, but he's a solid player in there, isn't he? He's totally different to Jez Litton. There's no comparison in terms of the style of play, but he can come in there, solidify it a bit more probably than Jez maybe. I don't know. But he ain't going to give you that attacking spark, is he? He ain't going to be driving out the line like Jez does. And that's where it's difficult for Bill Leyland, isn't it? Because he's an out-and-out hooker. If he's going on to the interchange bench to replace Litton, his opportunity is going to be limited anyway. Whereas Cal Lawton, like we saw against York, where he can fill in at loose forward, he can go into the second row, he can go into hooker. It's just difficult to argue against, dropping Lawton for Leyland just because, like you said, because Leyland's been impressive. But what I'm really keen for us not to do is let him go. And the danger is that the more Leyland starts making a name for himself, whether that be through his loan appearances or for whatever he does at the Robins, is that people start to take more notice of that. And there's a risk there, isn't there? Now we're at a 14-team Super League. There's a risk where people will want him. And that's where it's for me, I'd love to keep him, but I can also see where there might be an opportunity or a time when we don't, because someone else is going to want him.
There is, but what better club to go to than at St. Helens to be around that environment, you know, with the rich history of St. Helens, and it'll be nothing but good for the likes of Bill Leyland, even Jordan Desiree. You know, it'll be quite invaluable for him, because I think he was a bit of an unsung hero that day in the Saints lineup. So, but I think overall for Bill Leyland, it is going to make Rovers fans a little bit jittery, because he's making a name for himself. But Bill Leyland's an OKR player. Bill Leyland's got a decent contract, and Bill Leyland is very much in the heart of East Hull, because look at his celebration. His interview after the game. Why did he say
he wasn't celebrating? He wasn't celebrating as a Saints player. He was celebrating as a
Rovers player. Exactly. So, you know, if you're being told you need game time to progress yourself, but going out on loan so you can come back to us as a better player, you've got two options: Gull or St. Helens. And I don't mean to disrespect Gull in any way, but it's only going to enhance Bill as a player, being in and amongst that Saints setup and working under a great coach under Paul Rowley. He's only going to come back to OKR as a better player. I know it's nervous times, because people will be saying they'll want him signing up for their club, but his heart's with OKR and he's got a decent deal with OKR, and his future is with OKR. So if there is an opportunity there for him to enhance his skills working alongside, you know, Daz Clark at the hooking role, which is only going to benefit Bill Leyland for when he does come back to us, he's going to come back to us a better player. And I think Bill knows where, you know, he's an OKR player. He'll be coming back to us, and he's going to come back to us a better version of himself. But again, we've lost Dean Adley this week, so that might throw a spanner in the works. You know, we could potentially see Bill feature over in Toulouse, but anything can happen. But now,
let's say what, Bazza, as well. Do you know what? This is where, you know, we'll go back to what we was talking about Ryan Hampshire in terms of forward planning, not panicking. You know, Dean Adley, you know, he's irreplaceable for what he does for the side, but Elliot Minchella's coming back. You know, we there's no panic. We just move people around slightly, you know, and that's where the beauty of the squad is at the moment. You know, barring a horrendous injury run, you know, if one or two players are missing, it doesn't seem to impact the team like it would other teams necessarily. And I think that's where the management of the squad's been really good. Funny you mentioned about Bill Leyland as well there, and Gould, you know, because at the start of the season we had Jalen Hodgson, didn't we? And on sort of a trial basis. And I wonder what's happened there, whether he's still in and around the club. And yeah, we might try and find out what's happened with him there. Let's go to the York game, Bazza, because it was a quarter-final. The Robins have become quite good at knockout games over recent years, haven't they? Of course, York left us with a bloodied nose, didn't they? That first game of the season, that unexpected defeat. Players talked of a little bit of getting one over on them after what they did to us. And not only did we get one over them, we got 48 over them. You know, once Tyrone May went in after, 90 seconds, you sort of could read how the game was going. I know York got an early try, and I think Willie Peters was pretty pissed off with that, you know, about how slow he was in our defence and our inability to stop York from scoring. But it became a bit of a procession in the end. Full credit to York. They never gave up, but at the same point, we were winning at a canter in that game.
Yeah, we was, and that's credit to the boys. You know, it was one of them where we put the foot on the throat, and we didn't let up. And when we did let up, you know, there was a couple of sloppy tries, but overall, it was a really, really, really professional performance. You know, a bit of redemption for that first game of the year. it was a bit gutting with the soft tries that did go in. But Tyrone, mate, he's coming to some fine form for OKR lately, and I feel he's going under the radar quite a lot. As Tyrone everything good we do in attack, Tyrone has his hands on it, some in one part or another. But not only that, his defence is so tough from Tyrone May. It was a good professional performance, and we're starting to find that form from 2025. And it was another game. I felt like we didn't go through all the gears. I felt we was cruising very much like we was against OFC, and I credit to York because they was massively depleted, and you can only beat what's in front of you. But they did make us work for it. I was happy to get the win and be in the hat for the semis, but I don't want to credit York for turning up and giving us a bloody nose at times in that game because they tackled hard and there was quite competitive in parts, but overall we're starting to see the Rovers of 2025 building quite nicely with regards to our form. And again, I can't speak highly enough of how good Tyrone May has been for us and how he lets Mikey play his own game. You can just see it working on the pitch so well.
Yeah, and Bazza, it wasn't too long ago people were questioning Tyrone May's inclusion in the side and whether Ben Reynolds should be getting in over him. I mean, how crazy is that when you, even at the time, mate, I thought it was absolutely bonkers, let alone now when you look back. For me, May is I mean, the title of this week's Robin Pod is Back in the Groove, and I think Tyrone May is fully back in the groove. I mean, I think he was the first to admit that the tries he scored were support play tries, but that's a skill in itself, knowing when to go, when to be that backup player. And it's amazing, like when Tyrone May at times gets the ball, it's like he slows down time. It's like the defence don't know what to do. They don't know whether to go in and go for him. But then as soon as they do go in for him, he comes up with a magic pass or a little short kick through. And like I said, he slows down time at the moment. And it's a real pleasure to see. He's an absolute linchpin of the side. And he's definitely a player that I think, Rovers fans, when he's not playing, you'll really notice how much we miss him and how much influence he has on the side, because he's absolutely fantastic.
It really is, and I couldn't ever see a side without Tyrone May. So that's one thing about him is his injury record has been phenomenal. But I think we had a little spell last year. I think he had 1 or 2 match ban from the Salford game, and we knew about it when we had Danny Richardson going in there. And I don't want to bag on Danny Richardson, but he's no Tyrone May. So we've seen the importance of Tyrone. What it brings to our side. I'd love to keep him forever, personally. Is so important to what it does, and it's just the way it glides across the line, and it's so difficult to explain of how he reads the game. It's like inhuman. It's the same with Mikey, how he reads the game and what he sees things that's not there, and if it's not there, he creates it. He's got an incredible rugby brain as Tyrone, but again, that's not just on his attack. I feel like he's a really, really tough defender as well, and long may it continue. Yeah,
and that is, look, you don't get into this Rovers side if you can't defend, and not only is Tyrone May able to defend, he's one of our best defenders. He's not afraid to go in for the big boys, is he? You'll see him facing up to a prop, but also he gets through so much work, and he's an asset just in that middle part of the pitch, isn't he? Because he is so willing to put himself about. And like you said, the way he glides across the pitch, the way players just know when to make a run from him. When they see him get the ball, they know something's on. We saw, for me, one of the best ones was in the World Cup Challenge when he dabbed it through to Pet Hiku. That came out of nowhere. But if you look from where Hiku's run started, I think he was at least, 1 metre, 2 metres just behind Tyrone May. So even at the time, it wasn't a set play, but Hiku knew something would be happening. And that's that cohesion in the team, isn't it? Where you don't realise sometimes just by the way they train, the way they interact with, they always, not everything's a set move. And I think that's what we're getting the balance right at the Robins at the moment is, of course, we see some set plays, we see lots of set plays, but they've still got that ability to play the off-the-cuff rugby, and that's why Tyrone May is so important. But I think players like Jez Litton and Mikey Lewis are starting to bring that into the game. We're starting to see Mikey Lewis start to wander into the middle of the pitch where the defence aren't quite sure. We've seen him pop up passes to like Whitbread or Jesse Sue where they're crashing over close to the line. Litton's doing the same. And I think it's maybe more noticeable now because of some of the tries that we've scored. But I am starting to see some of these players evolve, and I do think it's on the back of Tyrone May.
Yeah, it really is, especially Mikey. And like I said earlier, Mikey can only play his game because Tyrone allows that with how Tyrone plays his game, and it frees up to Mikey to be that running half. And in some runs, the way Mikey hits that ball, he hits it like a prop forward, running at the line. And Jez Litton, I feel like now all this travel's over with, all this adversity, things are settling down. We're starting to see the best version of Jez Litton, and with the rule changes, we're starting to bear the fruits of that now with the faster rucks. But there's one chap I won't be mentioned yet, and that's Suaso. So, how old is he now? About 106. Him and Tom Amon complement each other so well, battering the line, and it was great to see Suaso go over the line against
Well,
Joe.
I was going to say, Bazza, that try from Sue, I think it was the previous set. He'd done two absolutely monster tackles. And we just in that snippet of 60 seconds, a minute, whatever it was, Sue showed everything that he's about. Two monster tackles, the fitness though, and the weight rate to get back up, get back into line, and then to see the crash ball try going over, absolutely fantastic. And for me, like you said, he's getting better the older he gets.
It really is, and is another one where contracts are coming up for next year, and would you, wouldn't you? And I think on current form, it's hard not to, because you get 100% out of Jesse week in, week out, and is that stability in the middle? Is that power going forward, and you rarely see him drop off tackles. Again, he's an old boy, but the old boy's doing a massive job for us amongst with Tom Amon, because I'm massively impressed with Tom Amon. We're definitely starting to see the form that he had for Lee, and he's doing some massive minutes as well.
Yeah. He looks happy as well. He's
Very
playing
happy.
with a smile on his face.
Yeah, it really is, and it's great to see. And that's the environment. That's the environment what's been created by Willie Peters and the staff, and everybody wants to be there, be happy. And we're starting to see how hungry the boys are now for more silverware. And got a little draw against Wire in the semi-final at Doncaster, so I've seen a few divided opinions over that over the weekend, but I'm just happy that we're in the semis. Yeah,
and Tyrone May, obviously, hat-trick, but it was Mikey Lewis who hit the headlines, wasn't it? I mean, that solo try, the kick through, for me, it was the grounding of the ball, which was the special bit. That the ability to keep within the field of play, to get that ball down like he did. And I think we're at a point now where Mikey Lewis is letting his rugby do the talking. We said about the pressure of him sort of being the poster boy early in February, didn't we, with the World Cup Challenge in Las Vegas. Now he's having an opportunity where he can just go out onto that pitch, express himself like we know he can. And that try was pure magic. I think people have said if rugby league had a higher profile, this would be global, that kind of effort. And it really should be, because that is Mikey Lewis at his prime.
Yeah, and it's that eyes up rugby, what you can't train, and you've heard the boys say it. What Mikey has cannot be coached into a player. What he's got is very, very special, and for him to see that space in a split second and back himself, you've got to have that confidence to be able to back yourself, and he does. and he finished it as well. We was all in the stands thinking, it's gone dead. But the way he got that ball down is a massive credit, because he's not the tallest fella, is Mikey. So, for him to pluck it out of the air and still ground the ball like in a split second, there's probably an handful of players in the world that'd be able to do all that. So that's credit to Mikey for seeing the space, backing himself, and managing to get the ball down. Because I think if every Rovers fan in that stadium will be, if they're honest, they'll probably tell you that they thought that ball was going dead.
Oh mate, honestly, we was in the East Stand seat. So obviously we didn't have the best view. When you see him do it and you think, and then when you look at the TV screen, it was a genuine wow moment when you go, he's got it down. How the hell has he managed to do that? So, and that is the bits, the things you probably can't train, coach. That is just natural, raw rugby league instinct, isn't it? And I'm great. It's great to see Lewis, playing rugby league with a smile on his face. Other players probably getting headlines over him, which allows Lewis just to get on with his job and concentrate on what he's doing for the team. And he's doing it very, very well at the moment. And whilst we're talking about well-executed tries, Joe Burgess, I think he had half his body was in the well when he put that ball down. Unbelievable. And it's not the first time he's done it either.
No, and I think that's what us Rovers fans sometimes take for granted is Joe Burgess' ability to finish in the tightest of spots, because he's a big lad, 6 foot something, and for the way he manages to finish the ball in the corner is, I don't know how he does it. It looks like spaghetti legs to me, but he always finds a way, and it's that rugby brain. But there's one player I don't feel sorry for, and I don't feel deserves a try, and that's Tom Davis. For the
5 games now, isn't it? Is it 5 games?
Yeah, and he gets us out of some sticky spots, does Tom, at times, and you just want to see him get over the line, because I feel like he deserves it. But Budgie, his finishing abilities is second to none. I thought it was in touch. I thought it was done. And, the ultra had gone. It meant nothing.
Yeah.
But the way he went for it was like it was the winning try. And that's the belief, and that's what it means to him. So, long may it continue. Yeah,
and you mentioned Tom Davis. I tell you what he might not be giving us in tries at the moment is giving us more in his back play and his ability to. I think he's top meter maker. He might even be top meter maker in Super League. I'm not quite sure. I have to double check. But the way he runs that ball, and also it's not the way he runs it. It's the way he then gets up, makes a quick play, gets us on the front foot, and really gets us motoring up the pitch. And, I was one of them questioning, what do we do what's life like after Ryan Hall? I tell you what, mate. Now it's easy to look back in it, but the fact that Tom Davis is probably performing better because he's having to do it at a higher level, really, in terms of where Ryan Hall was with us when he was with the Robins, but what we've got now. And he looks like he's a guy who's happy. He looks like he's thriving at the Robins. He's thriving on the pitch. I can't imagine, like we said, we can't imagine a team without Tyrone May. I can't imagine a team without Tom Davis. He's absolutely fantastic for me. And then he's so dependable in back play as well. You never see him take a risk. Everything's solid. You always feel safe. You'd let him hold a newborn baby because he's never going to drop it, wouldn't you? Because he's just so good at what he does. Yeah, he is. And like you've just said, it spot on there, John. The meters he makes out of back play, he never takes a backward step, and he takes a few eye shots as well. But he just carries on. Is super tough. Gets us out of some sticky spots, and again, his support play for Peterica on that right edge. He's quite invaluable. But again, like you say, imagine a side without Tom Davis in it. I know we've got Noah both waiting in the wings, but right now Tom Davis is undroppable. But it's always that comfort of knowing you've got something quality of Noah both with the young raw talent that he's got
it's comforting to know that if one of them was to drop out, we've got a great replacement coming in if need be.
Okay, well, of course, that victory against York means that the Robins have entered the Challenge Cup semi-finals. Before we talk about the semi-final draw, and of course, Toulouse away, I caught with Steve Till for Robins Revisited. So Bazza, of course, after beating York, we drew Warrington in the semi-final of the Challenge Cup. It's going to take place at Doncaster on the 10th of May. It's going to be a really interesting occasion, isn't it? Because at the moment, Warrington, I dare say, are the form team in Super League. They look like they're a little bit more steely. They don't seem to be falling in love with themselves like they have done in the past. They're going about the business. They're effective. Come the 10th of May, though, the Robins, no doubt, will be in a fine run of form, I expect. It's going to be a very, very interesting encounter. And, of course, Warrington will want revenge after we put them to the sword in the Challenge Cup final last season. What do you make of the draw?
I'm happy with it. It makes me nervous because we've had such a good run against Warrington over recent years, especially in knockout rugby. But, you know, to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And currently, Warrington are the best team in 2026 in Super League because they're sitting at the top of the league. But I think the last couple of games, what I've seen of Warrington, they look very, very beatable. We saw a couple of years ago under Darryl Powell, I think they went 8-9 unbeaten and thought they'd won the league.
Was that when they was in Catalan? There was partying and Darryl Powell was on the microphone.
Well, at the end of that year, they nearly got relegated, didn't they? So, no, I'm comfortable with coming up against Warrington because a lot of people will be talking and thinking about redemption for Warrington and this, that, and the other. But we're finding form, and I think we're quietly going under the radar the way we're finding form and building our season. So I think out the two, I think, you know, we'll be favourites, and I don't want to come across in any arrogant way, but the way we are building, I don't think Robi should fear anybody. They beat Brisbane Broncos not so long ago. You know, we're arguably, we are the best club team in the world, so, you know, we're the ones who should be feared. And given after Vegas, nobody would fear us, but we're slowly building and we're getting to how we was last year. Going into that semi, I'm going to back us, obviously, and I don't see why not. And I'm not going to show any disrespect to Warrington, but there's a lot of rugby to be played between now and the semis. But the way we're building and growing in confidence, there's no reason why we can get back to Wembley. And I think secretly for the boys, they'll want to do it for Willie because they'll want to send Willie out with a bang. And I think that'll be the catalyst to spare us on because Warrington, they've got a bit of adversity, you know. They love Steve McNamara, but with what's going on with that lot across the river, and if Steve McNamara's going to Hull FC, there's a little bit of disruption there at Warrington. So I think we will capitalise and, you know, we'll give them a right good game.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I mean, when I looked at the three other sides, you know, Warrington, Wigan, St Helens, either of them you get really, you know, it's hard to pick. All I wanted is, bearing in mind that there was three Northwestern teams, three teams from the Northwest, is that we didn't have to travel over there to play the semi-final. For me, the fact it's at Donny, you know, an hour down the road, we've got an opportunity to make it like we did York last season when we faced Catalan in York. It's a real opportunity for us to make it like a home game. Don't get me wrong, Wire will travel in decent numbers, but they won't be travelling in numbers like the Robins will be doing. It's a short journey for the players. You know, there's a lot of things in our favour. Don't get me wrong, 80 minutes of rugby league is, you know, it's what happens on the pitch, but there's lots of things that are going for us there, isn't there? One thing's for sure, though, Bazza, we can't have a repeat of the performance we put in against Wigan in Doncaster, where the game was gone by half time. But I've got no reason to believe that's what'll happen either.
No, I am, and we've got a completely different mindset now. You know, we was going into them games against Wigan in 24 with hope, not expectation, but now we are expected to win. And yeah, I'm comfortable with it because if it was Wigan or Saints, I know we'd give them a game, and we dismantled Saints the other week, so we do have that in our locker. I think it's going to be a really, really intriguing fixture. But currently we do have Warrington's number, and long may it continue.
Yeah. And of course, before then, we've got Toulouse on Friday night. Another one of the promoted sides. Another one of the promoted sides who's struggling a little bit with form. Of course, best on to the scene at the start of the season, just like York and Bradford did. But they've hit a bit of a dip. Last time out, they lost to Catalans, albeit they put a decent amount of points on the board. They also conceded a decent amount of points. It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's another journey for the Robins. It's another flight they've got to take. No doubt they'll be accustomed to it. On the flip side, we say about jet lag. I'm sure they are getting maybe a little bit of jet lag from the travelling. It's another breaking routine, where we're the normal home and away fixtures in this country. We've just got into a routine, and then we're having to travel again. But this is an ultra professional side, and I do expect them to come away with a victory, albeit I don't know. It's hard to read into what to expect from Toulouse at the moment.
Yeah, and it's going to be the last one of the year, and I think Willie will be saying to that to the boys. We've done some massive miles, we've done some huge travelling. This is the last one, the last time we've got to go to France this year. Let's go out there, get the job done, bring them 2 points home, and all the other travel will be forgot about. I am confident we will do it. But Toulouse are a very, very, very dangerous side. We've seen against Catalan, against St. Helens. You'll go to sleep in the second half, in the blink of an eye, they can put 12, 16, 18 points on you. I think we're going to have to be on our A game from minute 1 to minute 80. They're a tricky opponent, especially on their own patch. And if we take them lightly and we play 80%, we will get found out. But I believe the last few weeks, we've built ourselves into some really, really good form. The only, like you've just said, the thing that could be concerning right now, again, is the travel. But it's the last time. It's the last time we have to do that, jump on an aeroplane. So I think, put a couple of wrongs right, go to Toulouse, get the job done, come home, and then that's it. The boys can be settled at home with regular home and away fixtures. No more stupid miles and whatnot. But we are going to have to be really, really, really on our game against Toulouse, and people can look at that fixture and think it's an easy one, but it could be a potential banana skin if we are firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and there's no doubt whatsoever that as we record this, we don't know fully what the squad will be, but there's been no reports of injuries other than Dean Hadley. Saying that, even when Dean Hadley is injured, he seems to get patched up. I think if he was in a wheelchair, he'd be getting rolled out by Jez Litton, and it'd be in the second row. But that said, we're in a position where we don't need to risk players, do we? And by all accounts, Elliot Minchella will be back. So for me, it's just a direct swap, and we go with the same squad as what we did against York. It'd be interesting, though, Bazza, to see who takes on the kicking team duties, because we saw 3 kickers against York, which is many people would have expected. We saw Reece Martin go over for 4 kicks, Mikey Lewis go over for 3, and Jez Litton popping up with a conversion as well. Whether Martin got an injury or whether they was trying something new, I'm not quite sure. So that's why against Toulouse, it'd be interesting to see who does kicking duties. But I tell you what, Mikey Lewis with the kicks, he seems to be someone who's excelling at the moment.
Yeah, he is, and it goes back to that. If one man goes down, the next man steps up. He's going to do a job. And Mikey off the kicking tee has been very, very good this year. But I did find it kind of odd the way we went from Reece Martin, because at York I actually looked for Reece Martin on the field, see if we'd brought him off, because he's another one. He's been running some great lines and running really tough and defending really well. And it was noticed when he wasn't in the side. But yeah, I was looking to see if he was still on the field, and obviously he was there. But
All I can think of, he's had a twinge, or he's just because Litton, when he kicked it, Mikey Lewis was also down in backfield, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was getting a bit of treatment.
Didn't Reece Martin pop his hip or something last year? But he's just come back from a 4 weeks out with a broken foot, so something might not have been quite right there. So again, either way, the club's got it covered with that next man up mentality. You know, it's Mikey's got the kicking tea, and he'll do a job for us. And it was smart play by the club not to risk him. Again, it was great, very very welcoming to have Reece Martin back on Saturday afternoon.
Excellent. That brings us to question time. Okay, Bazza, we've got a few questions to rattle through here. Julie Rodman, she asks, who is your standout player of the season so far?
I don't want to be disrespectful. I think the easy answer would be Jez Litton, but I think overall so far, well, more in recent weeks, it's got to be Tyrone May. It has to be for me, closely followed by Jez Litton.
Yeah, I mean, if we go from the start of the season, I think it's probably Jez who showed a great level of consistency. That said, there's been some real standout performances. You know, we've just been talking about Tyrone May, we've been talking about Mikey Lewis, we're talking about, you know, players across the pitch, Joe Burgess. You know, there's lots and lots of players who are now finding the feet. So for me, I'd go Jez Litton, but you could make a case for a couple of players. Jez Litton, for me, it's got to be in the running for Man of Steel. I think he's putting himself in that equation. Loki on Instagram, he says atmosphere in the East Stand has seemed quieter than usual. Would you agree? I think at times it can be. I think that's always been the case at Craven Park. You know, as much as we do have a name for ourselves for creating atmosphere, and we do back the boys, and it is intimidating, and we can rise to the occasion on so many times. But there's always going to be a lull, isn't there, as well? You know, and sometimes people are just watching the game as well. Yeah,
I actually thought that because obviously I stand in the well, and at times, it was unusually quiet. But I think that's what we've become accustomed to when we blow teams away. If it was a high tempo, intense game against a Wigan Warriors or a Leeds, then the crowd's going to be screaming for the boys from minute 1 to minute 80 to get them over the line. But I think because we was in cruise control against York, you are going to expect a couple of flat spots in the crowd. But, you know, what do you want? You know what I mean? We was cruising and, like you've just said, people maybe just enjoying a beer, watching the game.
Yeah, Nick Shepherd, he asks about Carl Lawton and Bill Leyland. I mean, we've already discussed that. He asked whether it's Leyland doesn't look like he's going to get an opportunity while Carl Lawton's there, what we pretty much agree with. Is it time for him to go out on loan? Probably is, and I've got no doubt whatsoever Willie Peters will be looking at it. Obviously, there'll be a number of suitors after him. St Helens probably namely one. So, you know, any opportunity for him to get game time, particularly in Super League, I'm all in favour of. He does make the point about strengthening our rivals. You know, that said, you know, you've got to weigh up the pros and cons of it. But I think sending him out on loan would be definitely in favour of. Dave Campbell says, can stop fans complain about the semi-final venue? Pretty sure all season ticket holders will be able to attend. Mate, I've got no doubt whatsoever. If you want to go to that game, you will get a ticket. There's no worry whatsoever about that. And I think, do you know what? Fair play to the RFL. I think originally it was going to be at Headingley, wasn't it? They looked at Headingley to host it, but there's a 10K run or something, Rob Burrows 10K, which is taking place, which means the stadium's out of action. And because we're in, you know, football season time, there's not that many places for us to go. So if I'm a Warrington fan, I'd be pissed off because I'm having to travel much further than the Rovers fans. But from a selfish point of view, I think it's fantastic. So now we're down the road. It's an opportunity for as many, you know, like I said, if you want a ticket, you'll get one. And for me, it ticks the boxes.
Yeah, I was over the moon. Again, grateful to be in that semi final. So wherever we play, we'll be there.
And to be fair, Badger, as well, I'd rather play at Donny, which is 75, 80%, 85% full, than play at Headingley, which is
Well,
half empty.
let me ask you this. I know a lot of Rovers fans was pissed off because it's Doncaster. They wanted it at Edinburgh, but we were second out the app. So be careful what you wish for, because you could potentially have been at Edinburgh in that West Stand in the pissing down rain with no cover, where you can be in a nice all-seater, decent stadium. We'll get tickets. There'll be no issues with tickets.
And Matt Brady will finish on this one, Bazza. He says, and James Scruton, it leads into the question you're asking as well. I'm sad to see Willie go, but I would love his replacements come in early and see how Willie runs the club. I do worry about a new coach coming in and not training the players as hard as Willie Peters does. What's your thoughts? And then James adds to that. He says, what would your choice be? Who would your choice be for the next head coach? Should we try and get Adrian Lamb from Lee? You mentioned that previously. And it's interesting because Paul Lakin has spoke on the subject, and he said that the club are hoping or expecting to be able to make an announcement in May about who the next head coach will be. He's commented that Willie Peters is been helping the club in terms of sourcing a new coach, in terms of being a sounding board. And also what he wants, what Paul Lakin said he wants, is the new head coach to be working in parallel with Willie Peters with a view to next season. So, and he also talks about it being evolution rather than revolution, because he said next season's squad is pretty much set now. So what he wants is the head coach to come in and not really have to change too much, but be able to put his mark on the team that's already there. So, hey, look, it'd be interesting if they're making an announcement in May. It's going to be interesting to see who that is, whether it's someone in a head coach role already, whether it's going to be an assistant coach. We don't know, do we? Because the only name that's been mentioned is Michael Ennis. And for me, I'd be very surprised if it is him. But there's no talk other than anyone else. The only rumours that have been leaked are from you, Basil, when you said about Adrian Lamb.
No, again, that was just talking to a friend who's a Leaf fan who said he won't be surprised if OKR come in for Adrian Lamb, and I think it'd be quite a shrewd appointment if it was to be him. As for getting a coach in early, no, because I don't want to. You don't want current squad disrupting too much, and I think what we want from the new coach is to understand the club, understand the history, understand the fans and how we are all connected. That's what we want from the new coach, because that's very much what we got from Willie Peters. But we also want the new coach to put his own stamp on things and have his own ideas, because nobody's going to be able to replicate Willie Peters, and they're not. So as for a coach coming in early, I'm on the fence with that, because this is still Willie's team. Whoever it is coming in, I want him to understand the club very much like Willie Peters understands the club, and you know what it means to us. It's got to mean the same to that coach as well. So for the next coach coming in, whoever it is, I just want him to have, should we say, the same mindset and understanding as Willie Peters. And if he has, I don't think we'll go far wrong.
No, and Paul Lakin did say as well that Willie Peters pretty much knows everyone in rugby league. So in terms of using him as a sounding board or using his connections, he did say about how attractive the job is for people. You know, we'll put ourselves in a position where we're not having to convince people to come to us. It's them having to convince the club that they're right for the job, which is a real different dynamic. And going back to, I don't think I mentioned it, a real good example for me was how things have changed drastically at Hull Kingston Rovers. Is I saw Graham Turner, who was on the Robin pod regularly before the derby, and I said, for me, not the trophies, but the biggest sign of how things have changed is when St Helens are loaning 2 players from Hull KR to play in their first team in a Good Friday derby. What a role reversal that is from where we've been to where we are now. And that's why, in terms of head coaches, we are at the top table, and we're able to probably bring in people who 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we would never even had a chance of getting them.
It is, and it just shows how far we've come. If we're in a position to loan out players to a club with such rich history and who's always there competing for trophies, it just shows how we have evolved and become the club that we are. And it's another one, long may it continue, because I think this is just going to be the start of things to come. So yeah, I'm over the moon that we are an attractive club to bring in a coach, and for clubs to come to us to check the availability of some of our players for loan. And yeah, I think Old Kingston Rovers is properly on the map now worldwide.
Yeah, a huge thank you to Budget Ties Auto Centre for powering the Robin Pod, of course. They're the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Old Kingston Rovers. If you are heading over to Toulouse on Friday, safe journey to you. Be loud and proud like I know you will be. But for now, this has been the Robin Pod.
This is the Robin Pod. Robin Pod. This is the Robin Pod. Whoa. Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades pass, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this pod is for you. We won the cup, we ruled the league. A grand final win made us all believe. The world took note with Brisbane's fall. The Robins superb, now we won it all. Red Army, let's hear you sing with all your might. For your world champions in the red and white. We are okay, and we are the champions of the world.